just expand our minds and make us all think. How are you guys doing this beautiful grand morning? Hopefully you guys are doing great. I'm doing good. No complaints over here. I cannot complain. A little drink of some water right there, and we'll let you guys all gather. We're going to talk about the Great Awakening, from illusion to truth, and my experience basically in getting to the other side, and what happened, how I got to this place, and so you guys can hear a little bit more in depth. And, we're going to just get right into it. So let's do it. A teaching on the consciousness, reality, and liberation. How are you doing this grand morning? Welcome this morning. So hello, humanity. We have awakened today, and today marks the pivotal moment in human consciousness. What science has revealed, what psychology has uncovered, and what ancient wisdom has always whispered is now covering into one undeniable truth, that we have been living in a carefully constructed illusion. And the time of awakening is now. It's right now. We don't have time to wait around for anything else. Hello, we do not consent. How's it going? I'm glad you're doing great. So, the prison of false reality. For too long, we have been taught to seek externally, to look for God in buildings, truth in books and written by others, and love in the approval of systems that profit from our confusion. We have been conditioned to fear our own power, to doubt our own inner knowing, to accept the limitations that were never real. Quantum physics reveals that consciousness itself shapes reality. The observer effects shows us that the very act of observation changes the observed. And we are not passive victims of circumstances. We are active creators of our experience. And yet, we have been taught the opposite, to be followers, believers, seekers of external validation. Psychology confirms what mystics have known for millennia. Our early programming creates the lens through, which we see the world. And trauma responses, fear-based conditioning, and the need for acceptance create neural pathways that keep us trapped in cycles of seeking outside ourselves and what already exists within. You see, the journey inward, where truth lives, and my own journey began basically in the depths of what appeared to be, what I thought was death, because back then that's what I believed, right, is that we die. And I was in hospice, and I was facing that actual belief system. And, and I believed it was the end. And I discovered it was actually the beginning, to be honest. It's where life really, truly began for me. Hello, welcome, everybody. I, when external seeking failed, when everything I was looking for answers on the outside, when all the church stages and the crowds and the relationships and the thousands could not fill that void, I ended up being in hospice, and I turned inward. It was during COVID, so really I had plenty of time to turn inward. We weren't allowed out. We were in quarantine anyways, and being in hospice during COVID was a nightmare as it was, because you were not really allowed to be or go anywhere. Thankfully, I had an in-house hospice, but even still, there was rules for those nurses to be there. You see, the Christ consciousness is not a person, by the way, and that's what I once believed. I once believed it was something to worship, but there I was laying in that bed, and I remember questioning myself. How do I know this is even really real? What if it's all inside and I missed the boat, and there I was? I might have been right at that moment, but life was already leaving, I thought. I'd spent so much time in the external world trying to people please and trying to fit in, and here I was alone. But state of being and body, hell is not a destination, thank goodness, after death, but hell has been where we've been this whole time. It's a state of consciousness while living. Love is not something we had to earn either or find. It was what we were this entire time. The light we are told to go into is often nothing more than another trap of a false system. You know, I had a moment where I was captured and been tried to believe that some other existence and it wasn't real. Because something told me to gaze into the mirror, the inner self, to go into the void of the depths of my internal existence. And there was when I was able to roar. You know, science tells us, quantum field theory shows us that at the fundamental level, we are not separate beings, but interconnected waves in an infinite field of possibilities. What ancient texts called "we are all one" is now scientific fact. So I'm not just giving off some voodoo. Heart knowledge, Lev Melvin. The letter's shape is seen as a acronym for a heart that understands knowledge, emphasizing that true learning involves the heart and soul, not just the intellect. 100%. 100%. And it's so true. There's a time in my life where everything was here, but there was a difference between when it got from here to here and in the depths of the soul. And those layers. And then gets you into that cell memory, into the depths of those layers. You are correct. So it contains the whole, and just the Hermetic axiom states as above, so below. You contain the entire universe within your consciousness. The epigenics proves that our thoughts and experiences literally rewrite our genetic code. We are not victims of heredity. We are masters of our own evolution, and ancient wisdom meets modern discovery. You see, the agnostics' texts hidden in the centuries speak of the archeons, the entities that fed off of human fear and confusion, keeping humans trapped in a cycle of suffering, and modern psychology called it this trauma bonding, where we learned helplessness and systematic condition. And there I was in that bed, under those systematic conditionings and ways of thinking, and it brought me to this place where I had to look internal. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and it is without you. When you know yourself, when you be known, and you will understand that you are children of the living creator. You know, in Hinduism and the Buddhist tradition have long taught the Maya illusion of separation that keeps us bound to cycles of suffering that they called spiritual blindness, and we now understand as neurological program, the false light. You see, there was this false light that I was telling you about when I was experiencing that death. I learned something crucial in that moment, is that not all light is liberating. You see, the light at the end of the tunnel that so many of us report can be another layer of the control system, by the way. It's a recycling mechanism that wipes memory and sends souls back to forgetfulness and convinces you that you've just made too many mistakes in life and that you just haven't gotten it right yet. And under guilt, you signed a contract that then allows the memories to dissipate. But I refused. And instead I gazed into the mirror of truth, and I saw the roaring lioness and the fierce untamed power of the authentic self and the stardust of our cosmic origin and the infinite nature. And I saw the small and the large door, and I went for the tiny door and squeezed my lioness stardust body through that and into infinite dimensions. You see, the stardust, our cosmic origin and infinite nature, the divine masculine and feminine, the perfect balance within each soul. True love, not need for attachment, but the creative force of existence. It's the false system, the matrix, the fear, control, and the spiritual imprisonment. Nature as teacher, the organic truth. We should use all of our powers coherently, not just one over the other, 100%. They're a unison of one. Outside of its diversion, the inner light is not visible. That is the true light, 100%. 100%. So the false system, the matrix of fear, control, the spiritual imprisonment. See, nature is a teacher, by the way. That's why I was able to get to these places, was the time is spent in nature. It is organic truth. If you look to nature and see the truth, the systems don't want you to know that trees don't compete. They communicate through underground networks, sharing nutrients and information. This is our natural state, is cooperation, not competition. See, if we were all to cooperate, by the way, not one would be without, not one would be wanting, not one would be needing, not one would be seeking, and not one would be doing anything that we have going on right now. You know, fractals in nature show us that infinite complexity that emerges from simple patterns. You see, you don't need complicating systems to access truth. It's elegantly simple and naturally arising. You know, seasonal cycles teach us that death is transformative, not ending. That what appears to die is simply changing forms. Animals live from instinct and presence. They don't need external validation to know their worth or purpose. And look at us. They got it better than we do, guys. They figured it out when we haven't. And we try to think we're better than the animal kingdom. No, they got it figured out. That is why I said yesterday we have pull out backwards, inwards. There you go. You see, the default mode network in our brains creates the sense of separate self, the ego that feels isolated and afraid. Meditation, psychedelics, and profound spiritual experiences temporarily dissolve this network. See how it says temporary, which means after you've had it, it doesn't mean that's it, I've gotten it, I got it all figured out. No, you got a lot more work to keep going, my friends. That psychedelic was just a kicking point. It's like a third eye, punch to the third eye, and then you still got a little further to go. So this only temporarily dissolves the networks, and it reveals the interconnected in nature. Neuroplasticity shows us that the brain can be rewired at any age, by the way. And the patterns of fear, people pleasing, and external seeking are not permanent marks in our brains, that they're just simply habits that can be changed. So don't forget that you have the ability to change this. The vagus nerve, for instance, in the polyvagal theory reveals that how our traumas get stored in the body. These are called cell memories, and how we can heal through breath work, movement, and nervous system regulations. You see, the great deception system of control is we have been taught to seek God outside of ourselves when divinity lies within, and fear death when it's just transitioning, compete for love when we are love itself. And that's the thing, is we realize this so we wouldn't be out seeking all these things. See, truth authorities over intuition, trust authorities over intuition. That's just been a lie we've been told. All these things. We've been taught these things. All these BS things. Seek God outside ourselves, because divinity. No, it's within you. Fear death. No. It's something more than a transition into the next realm. Compete for love. Why? You are love. Trust authorities? No. When has trusting authorities been over good? Your intuition's been shouting out what to do, and you've been ignoring it this whole time. And how many times have you gone back and gone, oh man, my intuition was correct on that one. Whoops. Feel guilty for our desires? No. When desires is the universe expressing through us. See, these teachings, they create the perfect slaves now, don't they? Beings who doubt their own power and constantly seek permission, validation, and salvation from external sources. No wonder we're locked up and blind. That is why I said, I and my Father one, right? Feel guilty for our desires. It's such a BS things, The path of authentic awakeness. The true awakening is not about following another teacher blindly, or joining another system or organization, or waiting to be saved by some external force, or denying the physical world or the body. The spiritual bypassing of real healing work, true awakening, is sovereignty, taking full responsibility for your experiences, discernment, tasting your inner knowing over external authorities, integration, healing trauma while expanding consciousness, embodiment, bringing spirit into matter, not escaping matter. Service is natural, expressing love without agenda or attachment. You see, the mirror of truth is who you are. You really are. Is when you look in the mirror, okay, of absolute truth, and stripped of all the conditioning and programming, you see you are not human having a spiritual experience, but you are a eternal consciousness having a temporary human adventure. So go adventure up, man. We need to fire the government. We need to just dismantle this entire system because, come on, it's a false one. You are infinite awareness, temporary focus through a biological lens, creative force with the power to reshape reality through thought and intention. Love incarnate, not needing to find love, but needing to express it. Cosmic royalty, sovereign beings with divine birthright. The very universe experiencing itself subjectively and breaking the contact of limitations. Every belief system, every institution, every authority figure that tells you that you are small, powerless, or in need of external salvation is offering you a contract of limitations. The contract says, give us your power and we'll give you the safe. We'll make you safe, okay? Believe what we tell you, and we'll give you your belongings. Follow our rules, and we'll save your soul. Work within our system, and we'll provide for you, but fine print reveals safety comes at the cost of authenticity. Belonging requires abandoning your truth, and salvation keeps you dependent on disempowerment, and provision comes with invisible chains. And when you say no to these contracts, you reclaim your birthright as a sovereign being. The technology of consciousness, first of all, is everyone needs to declare their own sovereignty. I did back in 2012, and I am totally protected 100%. Way to go. Purity, oneness. The Bible talks about the throne bearer. I've heard of people getting to the throne of Beera, but not beyond that. There you go. Anyways, you guys have all ideas, all man constructs. So breath work is not just wellness. It is the bridge between voluntary and involuntary consciousness and unconsciousness intentions, not wishful thinking. It's programming language of reality. Gratitude is not positivity. It's the frequency that aligns you with abundance, okay? So, the new earth frequency. We are not trying to escape this reality. We are here to transform it. The new earth is not a place we go to, but a frequency we embody. This frequency includes unconditional love without radical honesty, without cruelty. Personal sovereignty without isolation, spiritual connection without religious dogma, material abundance without greed, hoarding, emotional mastery without suppression, mental clarity without judgment. And the call to action is this: the system of gradual awakening is over, and the system of control are collapsing, because enough of us remember who we really are. But this is not a passive process. It requires your conscious participation. Your mission should be choose to accept it. Stop seeking external validation. inner knowing is your North Star. Question everything, especially what you've never questioned before. Heal your trauma, not to become perfect, but to become authentic. Trust your intuition. It's connected to universal intelligence. Express your truth, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Love without attachment. Give freely, without expecting in return. Create from joy, not from the need or obligation. And live sovereign, responsible for your experience, not controlled by others. Because the time is now, guys. This is not a rehearsal. This is not practice. This is the moment of choice that your soul came here to experience. Will you continue to play small in a system designed to keep you imprisoned? Or will you step into fullness of who you are? Infinite, powerful, loving, creative, sovereign beings having a human adventure. The choice has always been yours. You see, the power has always been within you. The time is now. Remember, you are not awakening to becoming something. You're not your awakening to remember what you're always been. So welcome home, magnificent beings. Welcome to your truth. You see, the kingdom of heaven is not coming with signs to be observed, nor will they say, look, here it is, or there. For behold, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Luke 17:20-21. You are not a drop of in the ocean, but the entire ocean in each drop. Rumi. The cave you fear to enter holds treasure you seek. Joseph Campbell. Everyone, okay. I am Uzbekistan. Hello. There you go. Well, you guys, if you have any more comments, please feel free to make them. Otherwise, you guys, make sure you do one thing towards your dreams every single day, because it brings you one step closer. Make sure you recognize that you're valuable and you matter, and you're all unique puzzle pieces, a part of the ultimate puzzle of the cosmos. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you do. And if you haven't hit that like button, please hit them. Hit all the hearts and likes that you can. I'd much appreciate it. And outside of that, you guys, much love. Much love to you all. Let's see if there's any more comments. Oh, my goodness. Oh, we've got a beautiful day ahead of us. My dogs are still sleeping, as usual. All right, you guys. Well, make sure you have a good one. We'll see you guys next time, okay? Zena, what do you guys say to people? You say, see you later? See you later, alligator? Oh, that's what London says. Oh, where am I? I am traveling about. All right, well, much love, you guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace and love.